इंट्रो फिर
हो
से
गया।
देंगे।
हाँ, ओके, आई थिंक होगी स्टार्ट। हाँ, started. Okay, so Ashutosh, so I am Shubhang and I am currently listening to India. So let's start this by introduction of yours. So yeah, if you would like, you can introduce yourself.
Okay, so first of all, begin with my introduction. My name is Ashutosh Chandra, and currently I am pursuing BTech in Computer Science and Engineering from NIT Warangal. Currently, I am in the third year of my course, and my domains of interest are programming and cybersecurity. In pursuit of my interests, I've done various project. I've done a project in cybersecurity and what do you say in programming field too. And I was also in the part of the CyberSec in IIT Warangal, and there I was on the role of bug regarding that things. And currently I'm newly in both the fields and
Okay,
learning
okay,
and exploring
Ashutosh.
about both the fields.
Uh, right. So you said
That
you
is
have
it.
some projects in cybersecurity and programming. You said so. Can you just take out one project and can you explain it to me? And if possible, can you please share your portfolio link or resume link so that I can view it?
Sorry, sir, I don't have a portfolio currently, but for that resume, I think I'll have to go for the G Drive.
If you
I'll
can do it
save that.
fast, then sure. Otherwise, like you can explain your project to me in your way. So I don't have a resume right now. Yeah.
I'll be sharing the
Okay. Yeah.
project
Sure. You can share
GitHub link.
that. Yeah. Sure.
I'll be
Sure.
sharing the project GitHub link. I've sent
Sure.
in the chat box.
Okay. Okay. So this is some Python file I can see. So yeah, just go ahead explaining it.
Yeah. So this is a I built it in this fun way to prank my friends, and it was basically a truth and dare rat. So what basically rat is that it's a remote access Trojan. You might be knowing about Trojan. It's a kind of virus that goes into a device and then sends the owner the whoever sent the Trojan in your device the data of your computer to that guy. Okay, so how does this thing work? Okay, is that if you see the tnd.py,
Yeah.
okay, so there I have that is the basic program that I'll be sharing to the user. Okay, so it is a basic truth and dare means it will be having a list of questions and just a random choices will be there, like what question, and when you run the program it will simply ask you whether you want which type of questions you want and will show the questions. That's all that the basic user is going to see. Okay, but in the background what I've done that I've encoded some commands in base64 and then I'm running it. Okay, so what I'll be doing is that with the help of my friend, I've hosted a Python code on a server. Okay, so what this code does is that it sends a GET request to the code to that server and to that web page where the Python code is stored. Sends a GET request, then saves all the text
Okay.
that was there on that page in a file, and then runs
Okay.
that file in your computer. Okay, so the code that I have stored on the server
Yeah.
is the temp.py. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
are you able to see that? Okay, so this temp.py I've basically done the work of all those sub process and all. The work of socket was done by my friend because I don't have that much idea about
Okay.
servers and sockets, so he did the socket work and all rest of the things I did. Okay, so what this temp.py is doing now is that it is saving the host and the port where
Mhm.
where I'll be listening to the device. Okay, So first of all, it is checking about the CPU count of the device, means which is either less than or greater than two. If it will be less than two, then it will be of no use, because we'll be requiring to run the program to then receive the content from the server, then send it. Means at least we
Yeah,
require three
yeah.
three CPUs to work for that at the same time. So we'll be checking for us for the CPU count, and if it is less than or equal to 2, we'll just quit.
So
The program will quit. Okay. Now
yeah.
it will
So like,
yeah.
what does the CPU count mean exactly?
CPU count means what
Okay,
how many
so
cores you have in the computer.
your program is checking for the number of cores, and then you are proceeding ahead, right?
Yeah, means we'll be requiring a particular, means the project, whatever this code is doing, is that it is first of all running the program that was the
Okay.
tnd.py at the same
Mm-hmm.
moment. Okay. Then again, it will be listening to the means it will be sending data to my server, and from that server it will be receiving commands that the what do you say, the attacker is writing the commands. So it will
So,
require at least
yeah.
three
So, have you
cores
tried,
to perform the work.
giving it to anyone or turning it into an executable or something like that? So, whenever or a Python combine file, so that like how would you give it to a person without even letting him know? So that's what you must have
Okay,
learned in
I
cybersecurity, right?
told you now
Yeah.
that this program that you are seeing right now, the temp.py, will
Hmm.
be stored on the server. It is not going to be in the
Okay.
person's file, in that
Okay.
file.
Okay.
Okay, so my tnd.py will send the get request to the server.
Oh,
From there, it will
yeah.
save all the text that was there, which was a Python file,
Okay. Okay.
and then it will save that text in a Python file again,
Hmm.
which will be named temp.py.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Got
If
it.
you
Got it.
can view, there will be a
Yeah.
command, and all those things have been encoded in base 64. So the,
Yeah.
what do you say, the Windows Defender will also have no problem in running
Got
those
that.
things.
Got that.
Okay.
And where are you importing the questions from? Like if I play this D&D, so
That will be stored in the program itself. That
okay.
means what I have done to make the program lengthy means the questions would be not one word or two word, right?
Yeah.
It will be some strings, long strings, and it is also not like that. I'll be storing just one or two code. What do you say?
Hmm.
Questions. It will be a list of questions if I'm going to trick someone. Okay.
Yeah.
So that way the code will be kind of tedious, and the user won't be, means if even if the user is enthusiast and wants to read the code, he won't be able to read the complete code because it will be quite way long. Okay.
Hmm.
There I'll be, miss in the tnd.py, I've stored just a blank list, if you can view,
Yeah, I can see. Like, okay.
in the line number 8 and line number
Yeah,
10.
so did you
Okay.
not
So this
consider
list
did
will
you
be
not
quite
consider
long.
using any APIs or like putting the data in some different thing? Have you heard about DBMS?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard about
So
dbms.
do you know how to use SQL and all? Okay, SQL. And do you
Yeah,
know
I
about
know how to use
NoSQL?
SQL.
Okay, so if even if you know
No,
SQL,
I
so
don't know about
like,
NoSQL.
did you ever give a thought of keeping the data in SQL storage or anything like that for this thing?
Mm, I didn't. No, I don't. I didn't give a thought about that. Means I was just making it for fun, and simply make like what I wanted to achieve was
Okay,
achievable here
no
also.
problem.
So
Good,
I
good, good.
didn't give a thought about that.
Okay, it's fine. So this is good. Let's move ahead now. Okay, Ashutosh, so where were we? So let's proceed now with the, yeah, yeah, that's
I
fine.
was explaining
That
the
project
CPU
is done,
count.
I
You
guess.
asked
You
about the
explained it
CPU
well.
count and all.
That's fine. So let's come to the DSA part now. Okay. So your problem solving skills, we'll be testing it. And
Okay.
one question I'll be giving you to solve
Okay.
initially, and the next one would be
Okay.
okay. So the next one would be only I'll ask you an approach, and you'll have to share the approach. So I'll just share the link with you on which
Okay.
you'll have the code. Just a second. Hmm. So I have this. Yeah. Just tell me whether you are able to join it or not. I am sending you a link. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that link.
Yeah, just join it.
Subhank has a
Yeah.
moderator.
Okay.
And there are.
Good. Very good. I'll be putting up a question now. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's say you are given an array of some strings. Okay. So let me just
Okay.
paste the array
Yeah.
which I want you to use. So let's say this is the array that I gave you. Okay. So now what I want
Okay.
you is to group the anagrams together. Are you getting the point? You know what an anagram is?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
If you
know
want
what
any
an anagram
clarification,
is.
you can ask me. So what you have to do, there's some disturbance from your side. Can you please just fix it? Or is it from mine? Yeah. Better now.
Is it fine?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're given this array. Okay. You're given one array, and you have to break it down into multiple arrays, which will be containing all the anagrams at once. Okay. Are you getting my point? Like
Okay.
eat and T are anagrams. So yeah, so
Anagrams.
eat and T will be in this array, and if any other is there, then in this, and the next set would be in this, and the next set would be in this. Okay. So this is how you need to structure
Okay. Okay.
your answer, and your answer would be
Okay.
a array of array, or let's say a 2D array or 2D vector. Okay. So that's how you have to structure it. So
Hmm.
you can first, share, think about it if you need time, and just we'll then move ahead.
So anagrams.
And if you have any questions for the same, you can ask me now.
Good. No, no questions right now. Let me think. Then,
Okay.
if some questions
Okay. Okay.
arises, I'll
Sure.
let you know. Hmm. So this is. So basically, an anagram is that order of the letters are not determined. The frequency of the letters are only the thing that
Yeah.
matters. Okay.
So Ajay, so what do you think the answer
Mm.
for the test case that I gave will be?
The answer would be and 8 in one set, then tan and nat in one other, and then bat will be a singleton set. Okay.
Just can you repeat it once again?
T, eat, and 8
Right.
will be in one set, then tan and nat will be in other, and
Perfect.
bat will be
Perfect.
another singleton
Yeah.
set.
So you can just move ahead.
If, Okay. So I guess if we want to store all the anagrams in all together, so what anagrams are that they're the
Yeah.
frequency of characters should be equal. Okay. So I'll make a vector of 26 length. Okay, and then for each letter means each word, I'll be making separate vectors. Okay, and then I'll check the equal means if two vectors are same, then
Okay.
those two words are anagrams. Okay,
Yeah. So what would be the time
is it good?
complexity of the approach that you're saying?
S- it will be first of all to make the vectors. It will be big of n, and then to check it will be, what do you say? Really, if we check randomly, like storing all those vectors in another somewhere and then checking finding can be done in log n time or in big of one time also using either map or unordered map.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. So you can try.
yeah, that could be done. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can make miss unordered map of. I'm using unordered map because what
So
it will
what the
be.
key? What
Uh, it will give
what's
an
the
average time complexity
what
of
will
big
be
of
the key and value if you use an unordered map?
the key would be key would be a vector, okay, of characters that is 26 length, and the values will be a vector of a string.
So that's how you.
Okay,
Okay. Okay. Got your point. Okay. So you can start.
yeah, means all
Yeah.
those strings with.
I totally. I got your point. You can now start. Coding it.
I'm not kidding.
Let me just do this. What's your preferred language? I think I'm disconnected from this. Let me just rejoin.
I can't see the ID.
Yeah, just a second. So this is only the ID, Ashutosh.
No, I means it is nothing is, I can't type anything here.
You can't type anything. Let me just check.
Yeah.
I think you can type it, right?
No, I can't. Let me show you my screen.
Sure. Or is it like I have to add a question? No, I guess. I'll just give you the right if it's like that. I think you can type it. So yeah, just share the
Can
screen.
you see it?
Yeah. Acha, it's
So
not
here I can't type
just
anything.
so the example which I gave you was visible to you or not, right?
Yeah, that
Uh,
was visible, but after that something happened and it all went out.
okay, so you just reload the page. I think it's visible now. Yeah. So now you can proceed.
What I have to return? I
Yeah.
have to write the whole code.
And if it does not run, at least the pseudocode.
Okay. What is this?
You would have left the input like that only, but okay, it's fine. Okay.
So, so what I had to do was to first of all make a map. Map from and now zero and zero from here five dot size. J plus plus.
Do you think you can make a map of with vector as the first key? Do you, th- do you think it will run
Pardon me.
if you're making the vector as
I think
okay,
it will. I
move
think
ahead
it will
fast. Like we don't have
because
uh,
we can do
just make
comparison
sure
of.
we don't have much time left, okay? It has already been 30 minutes and the interview will go around 1 hour, so just complete as soon
Yeah,
as you
yeah.
can.
Yep.
Are you done?
There's some compile time error. Means I'm not able to figure out how to access the members of. It was done I dot. If I'm running auto on a map, then it should be.
Whatever the
There's
key
a
is,
means whatever the key
just
is,
a second, yeah.
that should be
The
I dot
key
size.
is I dot first dot site, shouldn't it be? I is an iterator to the map, right?
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
I dot
whatever you
second
want
dot size.
according to the code.
So
Okay. There's one more error, I guess. This dot a equals to, I guess, and yeah,
929.
yeah. I guess this should be like this.
Yeah,
Okay. And there would be more errors, I guess. Yeah, you've got
so
a
go through
segmentation fault. So would you like to debug it, or like should we move to the next question?
segmentation fault. Let me check once.
Okay.
Is edit
So I'll give you
size.
5 minutes more, because we don't have much time. Okay,
Okay,
so just
okay,
five
okay.
minutes more,
That's
and
fine.
we'll
Okay.
proceed to the next question.
Segmentation fault. Yeah,
Let me
it
just check.
was. Yes.
Okay, cool. Can you just like yeah, let me just try
Yeah,
it on another
done.
cases. Some of the cases. Okay, just make the array null. Yeah,
Array null. Okay. I don't
just a
think so. I
second.
will handle that side case, edge
Just a
cases.
second. Yeah,
Saying that this one,
yeah.
this only no.
Is it running? Yep, it's running.
If
Cool.
not, it
It's cool, cool, cool. So
not.
I'll just put some cases. Cool. I think it's fine. And okay, we're good to go, I guess. So can you just train your code in just 1 minute or so? Can you just please
Pardon me.
go through the code once?
Pardon me. I didn't.
Yeah,
Means explain it to you. Okay. So what I'm doing is that I'm just passing the vector of the string. Okay. So here now I'm creating a map. Okay. Can you
yeah.
see the highlighted part that I've highlighted? Okay, so what it is what map does is that it takes a key and all those things you might be knowing. So I've created a vector, means vector of int as the key and vector of string as the values. Okay, so what vector of int is, it is basically the frequency of the characters that are
Mm-hmm.
in the words. Okay, like ate, so a
Mm-hmm.
will be 1, t will be 2, t will be 1, e will be 1. Okay, but if we write good, then it will be G will be 1, O
Okay.
will be 2,
Correct,
and
correct,
D
correct,
will
sure.
be, rest all will be 0. Okay. Huh? And that vector I'm initializing here. It will be size of
Mm-hmm.
26. Okay. But if you want to include a special characters, we can make it of 256 and
Cool,
then
cool,
do it according to the Unicode.
cool.
Okay. So then again, now I'm parsing all the elements of the string of the vector of the string that you have all given me as the parameter. Okay. And then making thus that frequency
Okay.
vector here in this for loop. Okay. Now in that, now when we have the frequency vector, now I'm just pushing in that frequency
Mm-hmm.
vector here, that for this vector, this key, this array should be
Okay.
pushed in. Okay.
Cool,
Now here I'm traversing the map and then printing
cool.
out everything as a set.
Yeah,
You can just make, like, if you want to return it as a vector of a string, vector of vectors,
yeah,
so we
sure.
can do it like that also.
Uh,
Means
cool,
rather
cool.
than
Got your
see
point.
outing
Got
here,
your point.
then
It's fine. So, just take me through the time complexity of the code using this code.
time
Yeah.
complexity of the code. Okay, so if you consider each character, number of characters, not the number of strings, then it will be the, what do you say, here it is number of characters in this part, and while pushing it will compare this thing. So it will be comparing will be big of n because the size is 26 only. Okay, and then pushing will take big of 1, and finding will be taking big of log n. Okay, so here
Right,
it is
right.
log n into n. So n log n here, and here all those things big of n. So it will be complexity will be around
Map
n log n.
takes n login to push, or it takes login to push?
No, I'm saying map is
Yeah.
taking log n,
Cool,
but since I'm
cool,
running it
cool,
for
cool,
n
cool.
times, it will
Okay.
take a log
Good,
n log n.
Ashutosh.
Okay,
Okay, good,
because of the
Ashutosh.
external
I
for loop
think
I'm
we are
saying n
done
log n.
with this problem. Totally, like we've solved it much. So let's move to the next question. Okay. So moving to the next question, I'll just give you the question. Come on, be on the same whiteboard only. I'm adding a new whiteboard to it. Okay. So let's just solution the question.
Okay,
Let's come to whiteboard two. Okay. So here I'll be giving you a question. So
where is
you
it?
must be seeing whiteboard two, right?
Where is it?
Just share your screen. Just share your screen so that when the recording comes, you can see what you wrote also. I'll tell you then.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're not able to see. Acha, 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 acha. I got your point. Got your point. Got your point. Okay, so let's do it here only. Um, I think this code is done.
Okay.
Not done. We'll just use some space out of it. So okay, so now your question is
Just comment it and I'll
no
append
problem, no
it append
problem.
at the
I am not
end.
saying you
So
to write the. I'm not saying
just
you to
comment it
write the
down.
code. Okay, I am just you know
Okay.
telling you to share the approach. Okay, so like if I give you a
Okay.
2D vector, not a 2D vector exactly. If I give you some uh yeah, a 2D matrix, let's say. A 2D matrix which is made up of 0 and 1. So it's a binary matrix, okay? And so consider the ones to be land
Okay.
and consider the zeros to be the island, zero to be water, okay? So what you need to do is to find the number of islands which are present on the matrix. Do you understand my question? So yeah, so the
Yeah,
first
yeah, I
question
completely
to you
understand
is
the
this
question.
only. So I'll
And
just
for
share an example with you for the same. Let's take the grid as I just paste it right now. Okay, so let's let the grid be this one. Okay, so you can see that the number of islands here will be one this and other this. So it will be two, right? You got the point? It will be two. So how would you proceed with your code? How would you think about it?
so, do you have the liberty to alter the matrix too, or do I don't have the liberty to alter the matrix?
Tell me both the cases. if I give you or if I give you don't. Okay.
Okay, so for that, means what is the expected space complexity then?
It depends on what you write. Okay, so first share the approach, then we'll further discuss about the optimization and all.
Okay, okay. So this thing could be done by traversing the whole matrix. Okay, now in the beginning, I'll go with altering the matrix. Okay, like if there is one, we'll just parse the matrix completely row wise. Okay, first of all, in the first row, then
Just a
second row, then
second.
third row. Okay,
Okay, okay,
like that.
got you.
So whenever
Yeah,
we
yeah,
get
yeah.
a one, we'll perform. Okay, so whenever we'll find a one, we'll begin a BFS for that breadth first search for from that element.
Okay.
Okay, okay. So when we begin the breadth first search, we'll check in all the if we have to check in all the eight
The
directions or the four
it
directions only. Means the edge
okay.
should be,
I'll
or
give you
the
the
if
eight
the
directions.
vertices are matching, then eight direction. Okay, fine. Well and good. So we'll check in all the
Okay.
eight directions of that one. Okay, BFS search. That BFS search will implement with the help of Q and all. Okay, so in when we will be sending this whole matrix as a reference in that BFS search function, and doing all those works that we need to do in the BFS, and the BFS will return just just what do you say? It will return nothing. It will be a void. Okay, so whenever the BFS is called, means whenever we find a one, we'll just send in the BFS. Will then what we'll be doing in BFS is that we'll be traversing the matrix in the BFS manner, and whenever will be finding ones there, we'll be changing
Okay.
altering it to zeros.
Mhm.
Okay, like in if here
So
we found
can you write
I
the
a
data
zero
structure?
zero is the
Can you write
one.
the data
Okay,
structure of
so
the queue that you'll be using for BFS?
it will be simple
Of integer.
queue, like no, not
Okay,
of integer, pair of
cool.
integer.
So right. Okay,
About SQL
right.
or the
No, no, no.
implementation
SQL is fine.
structure.
So right, you are going the right way. So how would you handle going in all the eight directions? May I know?
That will be then. I'll write another validity function. Means we have to protect the index out of range also in your block.
No, no.
Like we can't
Yeah,
get
I'm
the
asking you. Like, if you are on a um, particular
hmm,
coordinate, let's say, okay, and you'll have to move around all the eight directions that are present. So how would you proceed? How would you take it in the BFS part only, in the BFS snippet of the code I'm asking? Like
okay,
how?
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I hope you got the point.
So earlier, what I used to do was that I used to write many lines of code and then check means is it valid or not in the eight directions. Means what are the eight directions? Means once for one cell either plus one or minus one in
Okay.
X. Okay,
Yeah.
but then all those things would be there, and x plus 1 y plus 1 x minus 1 y minus 1 is that way all the eight coordinates would be I'll be having access to. Okay,
Okay.
so but then we'll have to check whether the coordinate is valid or not. Okay,
Yep.
like if the coordinate that we are going to check for the BFS, the next coordinate in the BFS part, if it is zero, the value of that coordinate
Yeah,
is
it's
zero,
fine.
then we
Yeah,
don't want to
I
have that
completely
in.
understand that. I'm not asking you that. I'm just asking, like, you'll be like, what snippet of code will be using for you'll be using for moving out in the eight directions? I'm not asking if it's valid or not. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be declaring a global
Yeah. Okay.
array of the
Okay.
migration. Okay, like
Sure.
let me show you the array that I'll be using. The eight directions, so
Right.
I'll be using eight array of size eight, and it will be global, so I'll be initializing. Okay, so first of all, I'll be beginning with the if I'm
Mm-hmm.
if I'm at this one, this the highlighted. uh, coordinate. Okay, just in
Okay.
case. Then I'll be beginning the search from
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
Okay, can you see the highlighted one? Means it will be x minus 1, y minus 1. Okay, so I'll be writing first 1 minus 1, then this dx means the change in the x coordinates, means column wise. Okay, so it
Mm-hmm.
what will be minus, then 0, then plus 1, then in the clockwise direction, I'm moving in the clockwise direction. Okay, then again it will be 1, then again 1, then it will be 0, then it will be minus
Okay.
1, then again
I
it will be
think I
minus 1.
got your point. I think I got your point. So you'll be using a for loop. Okay. Right. So.
Okay, and then while doing the
Mm-hmm.
DFS, I'll just run a for loop for 8
Right. Right.
directions.
Right. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So you said you'll be using DFS. Why do you think you'll be using BFS and not DFS?
Okay, in what do we do in DFS that we'll be traversing only in single direction and then again coming back to the route and then going in the some other direction. Okay, that will be means although the complexity would be same, but too many recursive calls would be called, and there will be chances of stack overflow also if the matrix is completely filled. Okay,
Okay.
and if the constraints are quite not matchable.
Right.
Okay, and in case of in case of BFS, we'll be checking all the adjacent elements to at a
Okay.
single time
Right.
in the queue, and for those adjacent elements, then again the next adjacent elements will be checked, and ultimately when no
Mhm.
adjacent element that is one
Okay.
would be found, then
Right.
again
Right.
then
Right.
the queue will be empty, and whenever the queue will
Right.
be
Right. Right.
empty,
So
we'll
just
just return it.
now addition to this question. Okay. I think we are moving. Yeah, it has been 1 hour. So let's just keep it for 10 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes more. Okay. So just an addition to this question. What if I say you have to find the distinct islands? And what I mean by distinct islands is here is a group of 4 lines, so it's one. Here is a group of 4 lines which is totally identical to the first one. Okay. So the answer for
Yeah,
this would be one. So are you getting my point? You have to find the distinct. And if I write the one here, so the answer for this now would be two. But if I write a one here again, so the answer for
yeah,
it would be. Can you tell me what the answer would be?
2.
Yeah, perfect. So that's
Again it will be 2.
yeah. So like, how would you approach this?
Okay. Although the thing that is coming in my mind is quite the space complexity is
You
not
can
that
share the
good.
approach.
Well, but
You can still
just
share
for
the
the
approach if you
information's
want.
sake,
And
yeah, the thing
yeah,
is that if we are just checking whether they are identical or not, so for that we'll have to store the complete structure of that island somewhere. It's like a
correct,
photograph. Then only we'll be able to
correct,
identify
correct, correct.
whether they are same or not. Okay, so for that I have to store all those means I'll have to store a square matrix, or rather than not even a square, means ij means m into n, some kind of matrix somewhere, which will denote all the kind of means like a photograph of the island, like where ones are there, and in
Mhm,
that rectangle wherever zeros are there. If we get some same kind of structure for some other island, then they are identical, and
mhm,
we won't increase the count.
mhm.
Are you getting?
Yeah.
But it is quite tedious
So
approach.
what you're suggesting is you will be storing all the islands, right? So how would you distinguish that the islands are same?
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm not saying I'll be storing all the islands. I'm saying that I'll be storing the islands that I've found till yet, and then just check, cross verify from whenever I found
Okay,
another
so
island,
that
cross verify
would
whether
be,
that
I
island is
think,
present or not.
NGPAR 4 or something sort of. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's why I'm saying. Although time is also
right,
quite
right.
much, space is
So
also
if
it
you
will
can
become
think of
consuming a
optimizing it
lot.
in any way, so you can just share it.
Mm, I think. I can think in the way of water is how much area water is surrounding, but then will be quite difficult to identify the non-symmetric ones. I'm just saying, you have to check if the island, if an island is in the horizontal shape and the same island I can find in the vertical shape, then
Yeah, you
will they be
can't say
counted as
that it.
identical or not? They are not identical.
You'll have to say it vertically as well
Okay.
as horizontally at the same time if you're getting it. Okay.
Like just see here, like if I
Okay.
write one here,
Yeah.
okay,
Hmm.
and one here. So are these two islands identical? This one and
No, no. That would, I guess, make it a little bit complex. So I would not say that would be identical. Okay. Like you just have to make it exactly identical. Like if any starting position is there and any ending position is there, they must match.
mm,
Okay, so are you getting anything? Because I think we should probably end this interview now.
we can do one more thing,
Yeah, sure. Just you can share.
like the storing for each row, we can store the starting and index and ending index. Yes,
Okay.
I told you, right? Like we had to store that uh,
Yeah.
complete rectangle.
It it may
That
not be
means if in the
rectangle, right?
middle
It
also
may
if
not
the
be a
row of
rectangle. Like if I yeah,
yeah, quite not rectangle,
if I do it like this,
but then like here it is four
yeah.
and here yeah
So
two.
let's say this
Yeah,
case. So the here it's not a rectangle, but still the answer would be
this
two.
way means, but yep. So what I was saying that since here we can store
Mm-hmm.
these two indexes, okay,
Okay.
for all the arrays, for all the rows, will store all the beginning and ending. But if we
Beginning
get a
and
maximum
ending.
any row
Okay.
yep,
Yeah.
of one, for each.
Yeah, I got your
Okay,
point, right?
but if we get any,
Mm.
but that will be still
Um,
tedious, man.
yeah, that can
A lot
actually be a
tedious.
solution if you say that, but you'll have to store it in such a way that it works, right? So if you're gonna go with even with
Yeah,
BFS, still you have to store the endpoints of each row, है ना? If you're getting it
yeah,
correctly, and then you have to keep it for
yeah.
each column
Mhm.
separately, right? So, and that depends on the
Yeah,
column also. So that like it would be hectic, but still, right? It can be a solution. It's a possible solution. So let's move ahead now. Okay, okay, Ashutosh, let's move ahead now. So I'll be so what's your I saw is that your preferred language is C++, right? So are you aware
yes,
with the object-oriented programming concepts?
yes, I'm aware of the
Okay,
object-oriented programming.
so let's ask you something related to that. Okay, so can you explain the difference between encapsulation and abstraction?
So, difference between
Yeah.
encapsulation and abstraction. So, what encapsulation is that it is binding. Yep. So what encapsulation is that it is just taking all the required data that we have to provide to the user, binding it in a class or a class or binding it in a class and then providing the class to the user.
Okay.
Okay. So what in abstract encapsulation is done is basically used for two things: data hiding and data binding. Okay, so data hiding is achieved via all those access modifiers that is the private, public, default, and protected. And the data binding is like making the class and writing all the methods and variables in that class, and then giving the user the access of the instances of that class. That way the instance will have all the variables and the methods that are in the class. Okay, and now data abstraction is basically the process of hiding implementation of the methods
Okay.
that has no use to the user. Okay, so that is then basically
Okay.
using interfaces and abstract classes. So in both the things we are in encapsulation also and in abstraction also we are restricting the users, restricting the access of the
Okay.
how
So
the
can you
function
just
is
give
work.
an example? Yeah. Can you just support
Okay, but
your saying with
the
an
only
example?
the like uh, okay, mm, just take us the traditional approach, we'll be taking a class named vehicle, and another will be another child class will be there. We'll be having a class vehicle and abstract class as means the vehicle will be an abstract class. Okay, so the all the abstract functions that we have to use will be declared, not defined. That will be declared, and in the child class we'll just use all those functions that are required and required by the user for that particular model of the car. We'll just implement all those things. And in encapsulation is we are making a complete package and then giving the user the setter and getter functions to
Okay.
set the variables, all those
Right.
things.
Right. Right.
And the access of
Right.
those
Right.
things
Right. Right.
are
Right. I got it. I
restricted
got it.
for the security reasons.
So let's move ahead. So you have done DBMS, right? That you are aware of DBMS concepts. So let's
Yes, and I'm
discuss
also
something
doing
about
this.
indexing. Let's listen
Yeah.
something about indexing. So what is it, and what are your thoughts?
So indexing is to basically used to reduce the search and inserting complex data incomplexities of the DBMS, like, and
Okay.
it is basically achieved all the base. Okay, so indexing is to store the records of the data that are present in the DBMS, and it is basically of two types: the clustered indexing and non-clustered indexing. So clustered indexing is when we use when the data is sorted, so that yep, when the data is sorted, so that from A to B means, like, for index A, we are pointing to some record, and index B we are pointing to some other record. So from A to B, the data would be in between them. But if the data is not sorted, so from if we are using for we are using the index A to point some at some other data, and B to point some other data, so it is not guaranteed, like, from A to B, point A to point B, the data would be same. Some other index would be pointing at some other data, like that,
Okay. So
between B, A
right,
and B.
right, right.
Okay,
So
that's
it was
that's what it
correct.
is.
Okay. And what's normalization, by the way? Yeah.
Normalization. Normalization is the process of the dividing the tables and relations into multiple tables to increase the what do you say, the speed of accessing the data, uh,
Okay.
quite
So what's
means
the need
at a
of
quite
normalization? Like you have the data, right? You have it structured, and you can easily, like, I can just go through the data and find my data which is required. So what's the need of normalization? Like what are its requirements?
Normalization is basic means, if you have the data in the sorted order, means structured order, but then also there might be some redundancies in the database, like some values could be null, some values could be repeated for a particular data. Okay, so we 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 basically use it to reduce the redundancy, like, there is some, what is it, some Mr. Khurana, and he is renting some two movies. Okay,
Yeah.
and he works as a doctor. But there is some other Mr. Khurana renting the same two movies, but is working as a engineer. Okay, so here we'll be using uh, four different records. Okay, for Mr. Khurana, two for the two movies, and for Mehta, though, for those two different movies. But if we use normalization, we can just reduce in two to three other tables. Okay, just decompose into two to three tables, and that way we could reduce the space. Like, if there will be a table for the persons which are there, and having an attribute of, like, say,
Mm-hmm.
profession. Okay, and there'll be a table for movies. Okay, and here what we are using, that there'll be only two records that are being, there'll be only two tuples in the uh, person's table, and two tuples in the, what do you say, in the movies table. So
Right.
here the data reduced from six to,
Okay.
what do you say, four.
Okay. So the last
And
question from my side. So have you heard about LRU and CRU? Uh,
I've heard about LRU.
yeah.
I'm
MRU and MRU
just
and
I've
LRU.
not heard about
MRU,
CRU.
MRU. Sorry, mostly.
Yeah, means I've heard the name, but
Yeah, no problem. So
MRU.
can you
Yeah,
just
means I've heard the name of MRU,
yeah.
but
So just to
yeah,
explain it to me in layman terms, like you're explaining a 10-year-old kid. So how would you do that? And just let me know the an
okay.
example if you know anything, where it is used and how it
So,
is
so,
used.
so, beginning with LRU, will
And if you
so
want, you
LRU,
can
what you
also
say
use
is
this.
that
If you want, you can also use this whiteboard. We have it. I send you the link, right?
the Jamboard.
Yeah, Jamboard. If you want, you can also use this. Otherwise, no need. You can just explain it to me.
So, See, so what LRU is that we do some work, like any work that we have to do, perform calculations,
Okay.
just say. Okay. So like if you're a 10-year-old child, so I'll say that you're performing multiplications of two-digit numbers. Okay. Like 12 multiplied by 13. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we calculated what was 12 multiplied by 13. How do we calculate in that age? Is that 2 times 3 is 6. Okay. Then carry over
Right.
0 means 13 to the 6. Okay. Then carry 13 to the 26, and then carry over 2. Okay. And then 13 was a 13 and plus 2. Okay. So it will be
Mm.
15, I guess.
Okay.
Yep, 15, 156. Okay. So what all the calculations that we performed here? 13 twos
Right.
are and 13 ones are. Okay. So now I'm giving you to multiply 52 times 13.
Mhm.
Okay. Quite big number for that age.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, what we have to do is again calculate 15 times 2. Okay. So rather than, what do you say, using our brain, we can just store all these calculations that we had done earlier, like 13 2 we had performed,
Yeah.
and it was 26. Okay. So we'll be storing it somewhere.
Okay.
Okay. Now when we again have to use 13 times 2, we'll just look in the LRU cache whether it is there or not. If it is there, we'll just simply use the
Okay.
values. Okay. That is 13 times 2 6, and carry over 2, and then
What's
again we'll
the
search for
what's
13
the
times
what
5.
is the
But
exact use of LRU in this? LRU. Acha, what do you mean
LRU
by
is
LRU? Like, can you just explain me? Explain me, not a kid. What is an LRU?
LRU is where we are is a way of storing the recent calculations that we have done. Okay.
So you can store it in an array
Would you
also,
like?
right? You can store it in an array.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I store it in array, so what's the use of LRU concept?
To reduce the calculations that we are doing, because
So
like basically
you're saying
I'm
that
explaining to 10-year old child.
an array, if I use an array, so that's an LRU. An array storing data storing in an array is an LRU. You're saying that, right?
No, storing data in an array and then accessing it to just check to reduce the number of calculations that we have to perform. If the data is already
Okay.
present in the LRU, then we don't have to
Okay.
need to perform the calculations again now.
Okay. Okay.
Here we are talking about calculations, but in the real world scenario, we can like we have been given 900 to 1000 word pages of word document, and then we have to just parse it all, and we have to parse it all and then search for some word. Okay. So we won't be parsing it again and again because it will be
Okay,
taking some time
okay,
to read
okay, okay,
900 to 1000
okay.
pages.
Let's
Okay.
okay. So I think that is enough, and it was great talking to you. So let's move to, if you have any questions for me, you can ask me right now, and then we'll end this interview.
Okay. So for questions, I don't think so, sir. I have any questions currently.
Okay,
So we may.
okay,
Uh,
okay, okay. So let's end this interview. Thank you, Astosh, and I'll send you the recording once I
thank you.
get it. So,
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
हो गया हो गया हो गया.
Thank you for interviewing me, sir. Bye.
I stopped the recording.
बंद कर.
Just a second.
मेरे में